Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin at TaleTellers Fly Shop. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing great today. How you doing?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble, and before I forget, I need to compliment you on your new logo.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm always playing around with logos and things, and my sister's a graphic designer, so I just draw stuff on napkins, and then I say, "Hey, can you make this look fancy?" And that's that's pretty much how most of our designs and T-shirts and all that stuff happens. So yeah, I give all the credit to my sister and my napkin drawing skills.
Well, there you go. And is that a replacement logo, or is that just an additional logo?
It's just an additional one. So we've actually got like 5 different flies that are done in the same sort of design. So we've got different hats and stuff that we're going to be doing different times of the year. So right now we've got the popper, which will be pretty much all summer. And then we've got some dry flies and some streamers stuff as well. So it'll be cool. We've got one shirt that's got a couple of the designs on it, but we have even more in the shoot. So that honestly, it'll probably be towards the fall when we do like a complete unveiling of some of them.
Well, good deal. And, speaking of summer, it certainly has arrived in Central Virginia. It's cooled off a little bit, an abundance of, pop-up thunderstorms, but I have an impression that it's warm, low, and clear.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere. It's been the theme. I mean, and it's unusually early for this to happen, but in terms of just how low and how clear everything is. So it's really kind of slowed up and will continue to slow up the trout fishing in Central Virginia. Even on some of the brook trout streams, they're getting a little too hot. The benchmark temperature people are saying always to look for is like 68 degrees is the max, and fish the mornings. But like you mentioned, if the temps through the night are over 70 degrees, then even fishing in the morning can be still dangerous to fish. There's a section of river, it's not far from the shop. It's the delayed harvest piney section, which is like 25, 30 minutes from the shop. I was talking to one of the guys who was fishing it this past weekend, and the delayed harvest time is up for it. So, guys have been taking them, but he caught one rainbow, and, as soon as they went to release it, it pretty much went belly up, he said, just because of the temperature. So just one of those things that trout just can't survive when it gets super hot out, and it has been pretty hot out, and there's just been no relief. We haven't had a serious rain that's like that all day kind of drenching rain. It's just been those afternoon showers or maybe a little bit here or there, which really all that does is just the trees and the bushes and the grass soak it all up. It doesn't necessarily make its way all the way down to the river for any sort of long-term change. But, we got to fish what we're given. So,
yeah. And I don't know. I have one of those, fish pond thermometers in the aluminum tube that I just basically lace into my boots. Or there's even a clip on it. You can clip it to your boot, so you can just kind of walk around with it to temp the water out to make sure you're kind of in the safe zone.
Yep. Yeah, and that's always a good idea. We got them in the shop, and I use them as well. I use them even on the smallmouth end. There are times where you go out and you start fishing, and you're like, "Why is it terrible?" And then you take a stream temp, and it's like, "Oh, it's because it's like 87 degrees." And most of the time, you know that, like you it cerebrally, like, oh, well, it's really hot. But us nerdy fly fishing people, we like to have the specifics of what temperature. And so that's a really helpful way. And I found with those things, too, always get ones that look as, with all the thermometers that you can find. Find ones that are encased as best as possible, because I've gotten a couple that were like just cheaper end stuff on Amazon. And I have broken them, which is not a fun thing to have happen when you're out, rummaging around on rocks and things. So if you get one of those, make sure you get one that's designed for fishing, not just a random thermometer, because they break very easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, what that means, folks, is we're going to be fishing, low elevation rivers for smallmouth, probably chasing carp, hitting farm ponds for brim and bass. And that's going to be kind of the game until probably late summer, early fall.
Yeah, that's my guess too. And it's still fun. I think it's still kind of shocking to me how many people, as soon as they can't fish for trout, just hang their rod up, because where we're at, I mean, we've got the James that's literally like, 2 blocks down from us. And right now you can wade fish that just in downtown, and catch big smallmouth, or catch, whatever little tiny species you see. Gar on the fly is a lot of fun. Carp as well. So there's a lot of other species in Virginia that we have that you can go out and kind of challenge yourself and do something new. It might not be as consistent, or like you might not have all the answers. Like with trout fishing, you go to a brook trout stream and you try 5 or 6 different flies, and eventually, you'll find one that they're eating, or maybe just one fly. But yeah, when you're going out and you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I catch a gar on the fly? It's like, it just takes a little bit of creativity. And regardless of what, some people say, you don't have to have a boat to fish through the summer. I've heard people say that, which I've always thought was kind of funny. I mean, obviously it makes things easier. You got more options, but you can wade fish a lot of these streams that have brook trout in them. If you just simply go down a few miles, all of a sudden you've gone into smallmouth territory. So yeah, just play around with the area that you're in, especially in Central Virginia. If you are local to here, we've got a lot of options. So yeah, get out there and fish.
Yeah. And also too, I mean, there are things you can work on, even if, catching carp is not your thing. I can promise you, if you get better at catching carp, you're going to be a better all around angler.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason they call those things the freshwater or the hillbilly bonefish. I mean, they're very spooky, and getting something in front of them that they actually eat is, right now, for the guys that are fishing the brodex stuff, all the cicadas, is easy. But for us Central Virginians that don't have the brodex, it's a little more difficult. But on the same sense, just going out to a little farm pond with a popper, catching bluegill is a blast. And I ended up always doing this with my grandpa when we fished a lot together. We would kind of like play a game of, who could get their cast into the craziest little nook and cranny and pull a fish out. So, there's all sorts of ways that you can do that. I mean, heck, even Monday I took she was 3 last week, she's 4 now. We went out to a local lake here in Lynchburg and just caught a whole bunch of bluegill in 15 minutes, and then she was done with the fishing. So then we just looked at all of the little bugs and things that were around the lake. So, there's a lot of options. And there's a lot of places that are local to where it doesn't matter where you live. You don't have to drive super far to find some opportunity to catch fish.
Yeah, absolutely. And, folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly, and you can email them to us or send them to us on our Facebook or Instagram page. And, if we use your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag, and we'll enter you into something cool from the shop at the end of the season. And before I let you hop, Ethan, why don't you let folks know shop hours, where to find you, and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. So we're located in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia on Commerce Street. And if you can't make it down here, you can find us online at TaleTellersVA.com. If you can't find us online, then just bring up Instagram and type in TaleTellers VA. If you can't find us there, then you probably aren't listening to this podcast. So there's a lot of different ways nowadays that, you can get in contact with us. And we're more than happy to help in whichever way we can. If that's helping you with, a product, or if that's helping you just hone in a skill or find a new place to fish. So yeah, and thanks for chatting with me, Marvin.
As always, a pleasure, folks. And with it warming up, probably about time to start thinking about laying off the trout streams and maybe trying something new on the warm water or on the salt water. Get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.